Hello, welcome to day 4 of this 14-day challenge. You are halfway through the first week. Congratulations for making it this far. I'm really excited to keep working with you throughout the rest of this challenge. Today we have a new variation on our improvisation. We're starting to work with articulations. Yesterday we started dynamics. Today we're adding articulations on top of that. So how we attack and release every single note. We have a new melody that we're starting, and today is our last day with Amazing Grace. You can of course keep practicing that and playing that on your own, but in the challenge videos themselves, we won't be addressing that one anymore after today. Without further ado, let's dive right into our improvisation. So today we're going back to 3/4 time, which we've done before, and we're flipping the pattern upside down. So until now we've been starting on C and playing E and G after, for example. Now we're starting on G and we're playing the same pattern of notes. We're still playing C, E, G. We've just flipped it upside down. So we're playing G, E, C instead of C, E, G. And then our articulations that I mentioned, those are called legato and staccato. We see those in our notation with legato has a sort of curved line that looks a bit like a tie, and that means that we play the notes really smoothly. And staccato, that's marked with little dots underneath every single note. And that means that we play them really short, 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 short. You can absolutely try this out with pedal, just like we did yesterday, but I would mention that you should release the pedal whenever you're playing staccato. Otherwise, we're not going to hear this really nice short release. So today, since there are some new details into this, I'm not going to go very slowly. I'm still going to keep naming the note names the first time through, but I'm going to go even a bit faster than the other days. So maybe you want to watch this once through and then pause and copy, or watch it through and then rewatch and play along with this section. We're starting in the same position we've had every single time, but now we're starting with our 5th finger in the right hand, 1st finger in the left hand. And it's going to go like this. G, E, C, G, E, C, G, E, C, G, E, C, E, C, A, E, C, A, E, C, A, E, C, A, C, A, F, C, A, F, C, A, F, C, A, F, D, B, G, D, B, G. I think that was only twice through, but I think you get the idea. And I also want to mention, I'm giving you these ideas as kind of inspiration. It's great if you want to do exactly the same thing, because then you have a really fixed pattern that you can copy and that you can learn from. But we are calling it an improvisation. You're absolutely free to vary this as much or as little as you want, to add little details, to add in completely different details. Make this your own creative exercise. But I would encourage you today, at the very least, to work through it with some legato and some staccato. We're back with our rhythm drills. We're back in 4/4 time, and let's just dive right in. So we're going to be counting metrically again, and I'm going to count us in and just join along, clap along, and we'll be on to the next steps. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then this slide and the next slide, it's 2 slides today, are going to be really important for the song that we're learning today, for the piece that we're learning today. This slide is quite straightforward, so let's just have a go. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here, however, we have something brand new. So the rhythms, you'll notice the first half is exactly what we had twice on the previous slide. If you want to compare, I can show you one more time. We have the same pattern there twice. And then at the very end, we have something brand new. These squiggly Z kind of looking things, those are rests. Rests just mean that in the music, there's no sound happening on that beat. These are quarter rests, so they receive just one beat. And you can either count them like you normally would, or what I like to have, especially my younger students do, but I think it's a good exercise for anyone, is to say shh, so that we're really thinking about how, okay, that's silence. There should be no sound coming from the piano when I have a rest, because it's silence. So let's give this slide a try. This time I will just count 2 and 4 where the rests are, but we won't be clapping on those beats. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our new melody for today is called Surprise Symphony by the Austrian composer Franz Joseph Haydn. He was a funny guy, and it's kind of a funny little piece. It was originally an entire symphony. We're playing a very short excerpt from that, and it has lots of staccato and, as the name implies, a big surprise. So in addition to the staccato, we have dynamics here, just like we had yesterday. We're using some dynamics, and we're starting piano. Almost the entire piece is extremely piano, and then at the very end, we have not just the F symbol for forte, but 2 Fs, which actually means fortissimo, very loud. The point is there's supposed to be a very big surprise at the very end. I'll walk you through it once. So we're starting with our right hand first finger on middle C, and our left hand is going to, I like to use 2 on B, 4 on G. It's not super comfortable to have the thumbs kind of buddied up like that, but just let your left hand thumb kind of hang relaxed to the side. Otherwise, you can start with your first finger on B and your third finger on G. That also works great. The left hand doesn't have very much to do in this little piece anyway. It just has the 2 notes, and I'll play through it for you once. So at the very end, I'll start at the end today, you might notice that I didn't finish with the third, with my thumb, even though that's where my thumb was for the rest of the piece. I hopped over to the third just because I really wanted to give this C that's supposed to be very loud an extra whack. And by lifting the arm and dropping it back down, we build up some momentum that allows us to play a bit louder there. Of course, you can do that with the thumb as well. And the thumb is a very good finger for playing loud. However, as we learned yesterday, momentum, the speed that the key goes down, is a big factor in how loud a note comes out. So I really like this finger switch there at the very end. You maybe notice it's not a very fast piece. It's nice and slow. It's like somebody's kind of creeping around. It's a good humored surprise, but still, they want somebody to scream at the end, right? So you have lots of time. It's not fast. You have time to read all of your notes. We have lots of skips, lots of thirds, and it's a really good exercise for playing staccato, because almost the whole thing, except for these half notes, is staccato. Yesterday I promised you that the landmark note pages were going to be going away, and today is the day that you don't get that reminder anymore. We're going to do a very quick quiz of those, go through a quiz of all of the notes we've learned up until now, and then we're going to start on a brand new interval. So here we have F below middle C. Here we have middle C in the bass clef. And here we have G in the treble clef. Then we're going to have a series of intervals, either to or from the landmark notes. And I want you to be saying what the interval is and what the notes are. So let's give that a try. I'll do the first few a little bit slowly, and then I'm going to be speeding up as we go through. Again, as always, if you need more time, just press pause, take your time. Don't let the speed stress you out at all. Third, F to D. Second, F to G, second, C to B, third, D to F, second, G to F, third, G to B, third, G to E, second, E to F, second, C to D, second, F to E, second, G to A, third, F to A, third, C to E, third, C to A. I don't think I really sped up, but hopefully you were able to follow along. Our next interval, so these don't have any sort of shortcut in the name. These are called fourths, and they're called fourths just like the thirds and seconds. We have our first note, these are going downward, so I'll start where it's with our example. We have middle C is our first note, and then 2, 3, 4 is the distance between the notes there. So C down to G is a fourth, G down to D is that note, is also a fourth, and down another fourth gets us D, C, B, A to A, for example. Similarly to seconds, fourths are always one line and one space, always without exceptions. You'll notice over time that the even intervals have one of each, a line and a space, and the odd intervals are either both lines or both spaces. They'll be farther apart when the intervals are getting bigger, but that kind of helps us keep track of which one is which and start to recognize them more quickly when we're reading. Like all the other intervals, we can play fourths together. They look like this when they're played harmonically, is what we call it when they're played at the same time. And then let's just do a round of going through the landmark notes, from the landmark notes, and then the interval of a fourth, either up or down. So here we're starting on bass clef F, we're going down a fourth, so we skip over the space and the line to get to C underneath our F. That's actually fairly soon going to be a new landmark note, so if you want to start kind of noticing that C in the bass clef, that's going to be very important in the long run. Here we're starting on middle C, going down a fourth gets us to G. Now, the other thing that I do want you to think of, because if you're calculating down a fourth from C, for example, here, if you recognize that it's a fourth, but you don't want to be counting all the way down from C, the note is right above our bass clef F. And that also helps you figure out more quickly, okay, that's a G. We have treble clef G, down a fourth to D, and treble clef G, up a fourth to C. And this C is also going to be an important landmark note. We won't be using that quite as much as soon as we will in the bass clef, but it's also going to be an extremely important note in the long run. Finally, if you want to see how that looks in the sheet music of some of your pieces, this is Amazing Grace, in case you've been playing along with the sheet music version. And when we're going from the bass clef G at the very beginning up to middle C, that's a fourth. Here it's not so easy to see because it's split between the hands. We're going from the bass clef to the treble clef. It looks like it's much farther. That one's not so easy to identify, I will admit. But then in the second line, we have D that's right above middle C, going up to our landmark G, and that is a fourth that's fairly straightforward to identify. So again, there's just the first one circled, and then you have the second one there also. This is our surprise symphony that we started today. It doesn't have any fourths, but it does have lots of thirds and just a handful of seconds. Really only at the very end do we see very many seconds. Lots of practice for the thirds there. Last but not least, we have Amazing Grace. Today I would like to mention the idea of maybe starting to play some things by memory. You've played this song for several days now, and it might be a good chance to start trying to play something by heart. You don't need to be tied to your score anymore. You know the music, you know how it feels to play it, and maybe give it a try playing without the music right in front of you. If you hit any snags, you still have the music. You're not performing. You don't have a concert tonight in Carnegie Hall. Just do this because it is, when we start to memorize music, then we're really starting to take our music making to the next level, because it's not something that just lives fixed on a page that we can only have access to when we have the music right in front of us. It's something that lives inside of us. It's something that belongs to us, and nobody can take that away. So that's a really important step to start building into your practice routine. And the sooner you start trying to memorize music, the easier it's going to be in the long run. Because pieces are only going to get bigger, they're only going to get more complicated. And if you start now with these smaller things, then it's going to come much more easily when you start learning those bigger, longer pieces. If you would like to play along with me, I'm going to count you in. I'm going to go a bit faster. If it's still a challenge to play in this tempo, don't worry. Just pause the video, practice it on your own, and then try again in the faster tempo. But it's been a few days, maybe you're really comfortable with it now, and maybe you would like to be playing faster. So let's just go for that tempo and see how it goes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. That concludes day 4. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, drop any questions that you have in the comments below. Let me know how it's going. I'm really genuinely excited to hear how all of this is going for you, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Until then, happy practicing.